So, hello, Adam.
Hi, Eva. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Perfect.
Welcome to our webinar, to our Your Way webinar, and welcome everybody. And so I would like to introduce you German boarding school this time, and Adam Klor will present you the school. And please feel free to make any questions. You can type some questions in and we will be here to answer. Okay, so Adam, can you please introduce us the German boarding school and the school system and the advantages of going to a boarding school in Germany?
Sure, be happy to. Eva, thanks for having me here, and the opportunity to present the school, and it's exciting for us as well. Looking forward to meeting some new families. Why don't I go ahead and I'll start my presentation here. So I'll talk a little bit as the slides are up on the screen. All right. So as Eva said, I work from the Schlossschule Kirchberg. It's a private boarding school in southern Germany. And my name is Adam Klor. I'm the head of international programs here at the Schlossschule. I came here about 10 years ago to the school, originally from the US, and started here as an English assistant long ago, and therefore also have had my own experiences with the value of study abroad and what it can do for one. My position here at the school, I'm responsible for the coordination of all of the international programs, the international admissions, and maintaining contact with the families and agencies that we work with, and developing all the programs that we have to suit the needs of the families that are here. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about sort of in general why Germany, why secondary education, why a boarding school, and then also why we think that the Schlossschule is the best option for education here in Germany. Before I start talking, I'm going to share my screen here and show you a short video. We're going to go skydiving for a minute to give you an idea of where we're at. So you can see here, this is the town of Kirchberg an der Jagst. With the name here of the school, as nobody calls it other than Google, the Castle School Kirchberg. It comes from where we were originally founded, in the castle here in Kirchberg an der Jagst. And as you can see in the video, then around us, there's a lot of green and rural. We're in a very beautiful scenic part of Germany, and also right in the town of Kirchberg.
Is it a smaller town?
It's officially a city.
Okay. Good.
We have, why can't I click here?
Back to the presentation?
Yeah, I'm on the...
Mm-hmm. It's the slides.
No,
maybe we better stop it and start again, no?
Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm
no problem.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good.
There we go. Okay. So yeah, it is a small town. It have about a population of about 3,500 that live here in the city. It's, even by German standards, would be more or less a village, but we do have the official right to be called a city. And you can see here we're in the southern part of Germany, here in Baden-Württemberg. And there's a lot of larger metropolitan regions around us. For example, both Stuttgart and Nuremberg are about an hour to either side of us, then to east and west. Also Frankfurt, Munich are about 2 hours on either side in the other directions then. And then there's this big spot in the middle, very green and full of nature, where Kirchberg is located. You can see here in the presentation, the top two pictures then are some pictures of the old town here in Kirchberg. It's a very picturesque little town. And then the bottom three here, just some images of the region here. We're in the region of Hohenlohe and Schwäbisch Hall here, one of the larger cities close by. Some good Swabian cuisine and some of the landscapes here around us. Before I start to introduce the school anymore, I wanted to, I apologize for the spoiler alert, but introduce some of our students and some of the success stories here at the school to show what this all can bring for students and what sort of value it can create for students. I've chosen 4 here to sort of give a good picture of an overall why students come and what they've done. Starting here with Kayla, who's from St. Lucia. She came to us a few years ago, just completed her Abitur this year, and was always, from the very first day, one of the most determined and hardworking students I've ever seen. That she came and graduated actually at the top of her class from all of the German students as well. Had almost a perfect Abitur score, blew everybody out of the water. She's now in the town of Gießen, close to Frankfurt, studying medicine. She's just now in her first semester, all online. It's going to work out for her. We will see.
Great.
Next we have here is Steve Shang-Win, Chinese name. Probably the pronunciation is horrible, but we'll call him Steve. He's now studying electrical engineering at the Technical University in Munich. And the engineering programs are a very popular option for a reason why a lot of students come to Germany because of the expertise here in the country. Next we have Ioana from Romania. She graduated 4 years ago, if I remember correctly, and is now in Stuttgart studying art history and sociology, and is also one of the few that's a linguistic phenomenon that when she speaks, you don't hear that she's German at all. It's incredible to hear how she speaks German. And lastly is Tsabi, who just also graduated this past year, originally from Afghanistan, is now studying in Mannheim. It's a sort of as far as I know, a unique German program called dual study, in where the students apply to a university, but also to an employer at the same time. And they go and they switch 3 months working, 3 months studying, more or less, and then at the end they've got their bachelor's and also work experience and are very ready for the job market afterwards. So he's now studying business information systems and working at SAP, the big software company.
Wow.
So, of course, not all of our students. This is the cream of the crop. Like I said, you want to pick some of my favorites, some of the ones that did exceptionally well. If nothing else, to show what's possible, that Germany can promise a lot, and taking this route can be very helpful. Mm-hmm. So let's take a step back first and go to the more general information. So why Germany? In a decision process then for education abroad, this is obviously then the first decision: which country do I want to go to? There's several reasons for Germany, depending on where students are coming from. The quality of education here is very high, also very affordable. A lot of the universities then tend to be free if you're applying, especially from within the country. So education is cheap and very good. As I mentioned before, the expertise then in engineering and sciences, the perspectives then for employability afterwards are very high. And then in general, it's a very safe, healthy country, great living conditions, as well as stable economy and political environment. And interesting, I think, is that to see how Germany is growing in popularity, that it's the top ranked non-English speaking country for secondary and university. So it's a very popular destination for those reasons.
Yeah, and it's getting more popular. That's my experience. Mm-hmm. More and more students like to choose Germany as their destination.
Yeah, it's our experience as well. We can confirm that. I'll get into this a little bit later in more detail. We started taking international students in 2010 for the very first time. And it was just on a trial basis. Let's give this a shot and see what happens. The school's of course much older, but that was the new experiment. And since then, now it's within 10 years, we have almost 40 students in total here from all around the world. So it's been growing still steadily. So we can definitely confirm that. The next is, we recognize as a school, we have to recognize at least that as a secondary school, we're a means to an end. The ultimate goal is studying in Germany and even farther than working in Germany, possibly, or at least gaining work experience. But the school is definitely then the best route to success then in that path. for a few reasons. And for example, the language skills that you have more time before starting university. You have more familiarity with the German academic environment, the culture, what's expected, what's demanded of students, as well as more immersion into the culture, which helps in integration and creating contacts with the natives here. And lastly, then applying here, I just wrote the German word in the presentation as a Bildungsinländer. And that means applying as a student from within the country, so as a domestic student basically, rather than from abroad. This has several advantages. First of all, you're pretty much guaranteed the university entrance requirements that you can get into almost any university that you like, as well as no tuition fees. So it is at least the case here in Baden-Württemberg. Foreign students have tuition fees of about 1,500 euros per semester. But if you're applying as a domestic student, you obviously don't pay those fees. So
that's good.
Lastly, then why a boarding school? There are also other options for coming to a school than the host family or other types of accommodation for students, but a boarding school offers a lot that you can't get at a public school or in a host family kind of situation. In particular, then the services and support is probably the biggest thing that's the biggest difference. It's, first of all the time you're here, there's people on campus living here on the campus with you. There's always somebody there for students and for parents as well, if they need anything. It's not just somebody there for support, but also professional support. You know, there are educators who have years of experience, been doing this for a long time. It's an all-inclusive package. You have everything here in one. You have your accommodation, you have your education, you have your free time, you have social life. Everything is in one place. And also, what you can't do a lot of times with public schools is you're always going to come and do a trial stay. Come for a week and see if you like it, and see if it's the right fit for you. And we're very flexible in those regards. In addition, part of it is living here on campus in a learning environment. You're living in the academic environment. You're surrounded by school and academics, also by others than your peers who are in the same situation, the same classes as you. And it's a lot easier to get support with coursework and work with others. And lastly, as far as social life goes, you're living in amongst peers like this for 3 to 4 years mostly, then it creates a sense of community that you don't really get anywhere else. It's a very unique and very strong bond amongst these students, which is also the reason for why you always hear the private schools, this alumni network and the networking possibilities afterwards, which is not always an intentional action of the school, but more or less the result of living at a boarding school. There's a special bond amongst those students. Lastly, why Schloss und Kirchberg? So this is obviously the majority of my presentation. And rather than telling you a lot about why I think the Schloss is the best option, I'm going to show you another video here and let the images speak for themselves.
Durch die kleinen Klassen kennt man eben jeden Schüler sehr individuell, sieht also recht schnell, wo sind Stärken, wo sind Schwächen, und dann arbeiten wir ganz eng mit dem Internatsbereich auch zusammen.
Das Besondere an der Schule ist, dass man hier auf jeden Schüler einzeln eingeht. Also der Schüler wird in seiner Individualität, in seiner Persönlichkeit gesehen, und man versucht, diese Persönlichkeit zu fördern.
Manche Potenziale muss man auch erst entdecken, indem man alles Mögliche ausprobiert.
Das standardisierte Erfolgsmuster gibt es bei uns eigentlich nicht, weil ich muss wirklich immer gucken, was braucht der Schüler. Und wir gucken uns das an, schreiben dann einen Plan und sagen, okay, an den und den Stellen machen wir das und probieren es. Und wenn das nicht funktioniert, muss man umdenken. Das können nur wir, das kann nicht der Schüler.
Was ich schön finde hier an der Schule ist zum einen die Vielfalt an Personen und Persönlichkeiten.
Es ist cool, weil man immer mit seinen Freunden was machen kann.
Und außerdem ist die Schule hier mehr frei, finde ich.
Also für mich das Tollste und Beeindruckendste aus dieser Zeit ist sicherlich der Zusammenhalt, der da entsteht. Man ist ja nicht nur in der Schule zusammen, sondern auch den ganzen Tag, den Abend. Wenn wir uns heute treffen, da reden wir heute noch und schwärmen noch heute von diesen gemeinsamen Erlebnissen.
Yeah, we are all looking for adventure. We are all looking for adventure.
So, I can tell you then what I get out of that video, and I hope that everyone who's watching this has the same impression that what makes Kirchberg, in my opinion, special is that it's a private school, and private school always has this connotation of elitist excellence, the typical British coat and tie sort of environment, and Kirchberg certainly has the same reputation for academic excellence, but it's much more down to earth, as you can see in the video. There's no uniforms, there's no, it's very, both teachers, staff, and students, it's very, very normal, which is refreshing, to have the quality and services of a private school, but in a very normal sort of atmosphere. Oops, I'll go back to my presentation here.
Try to go back.
Yeah, there we go, okay.
Good.
I'm watching the clock here as I'm talking, and I've got a ton of information here. There's a lot to say about the school, and I'm going to try my best to get through this as quickly as possible without rushing. So if there are questions at the end, as Eva said, then I'd be happy to answer anything if I skip through something too quickly. So before going into a lot of detail, I'd like to introduce you to the school a little bit, to some basic facts first of all. Founded in 1914, so had over 100 years then of experience here with students. We're a gymnasium here in Germany, which means grades 5 through 12, ending in the Abitur, or also the Fachhochschulreife as university entrance certificates. We are a small school, about 100 boarding students and about 230 local students that come here from the local area. Currently, of those 100 boarding students, 37 are international students from over 11 countries around the world. So it's a very diverse and interesting mix here on campus. The language of instruction is, of course, German, where through the high number of German students here on campus, it's maintained its German character, so to speak, but with a strong international department. The academic focuses here on campus or at school are the natural sciences as well as theater. Theater is a long tradition of the school, and the natural sciences fits well because of Germany and what Germany is known for. And lastly then, small town, small school, also small classes. Then we have about 17 on average per class. So it's very, very personal and close to the teachers. Here I have just a quick overview of where all students have come from over the last 10 years. We've had, for various programs, then over 200 students from over 33 countries around the world come to us. And just as explanation, the colors here mean nothing. There are Schwarzschild colors, the red, yellow, and blue. But to give an idea of how many students have come and from where. There's that. We're started as a regular German boarding school in the Reform pedagogy tradition, but have since developed a number of international programs for international students. We have, here you can see different varying lengths of courses, as well as 4 different language skill levels. Starting with short programs, we have summer and fall course that are 4 to 6 weeks at the beginning and the end of each school year, which is sort of an academic immersion course for students to come and get an impression of what school's like here, and also take some extra German courses on the side. The one here is sort of behind it. It's a little bit harder to see. Individual stays basically means as long as we have a bed available here in the boarding school, we're flexible, and I'm happy to take somebody at any point for any length of time. And lastly here, then the 3 that I'm going to focus on tonight then is the academic semester or year abroad, which actually I won't say a lot in particular to, because a lot of the information is the same as the University Pathway Program here. What's important to mention before I get into other details about the University Pathway Program is that for a semester or year abroad, you can really come at any point. So in Germany, you can get a student visa starting at 9th grade, as we'll see later as I move to the next slide. But you can come earlier if the program is less than a year, if it's for an exchange program. So that's possible then beforehand. And lastly, these two courses are going to be the meat here of the presentation. Our high school prep year, language and academics, and lastly, our university pathway. So as far as prep year, you can see here then most students enter the school in grades 9 or grade 10. Grade 10 is the standard course, and the high school prep year then allows students without prior German language knowledge to be prepared up to the level of B2 to enter a German secondary school. So it involves immersion here in the boarding school and school life and the language and culture then because of that. So it's a very good way to get to know Kirchberg as well as the language before entering in grade 9 with B1 or grade 10 with B2. University pathway is said grade 9 or grade 10. 10 plus is the course we've set up then for all lateral entry students, basically meaning anybody who's new to the school system. That means on the one hand, German students from different school systems, and then also the international students. So it's a class setup that has the same content and the same curriculum of grade 10 as the other classes, but has a little bit different didactics. Sometimes they'll teach a little bit differently to tailor more to the needs of the students in the class, focus more on the language, and do more to help them there. In German, then grade 10 is currently the grade before completing Abitur. So it means 3 years up to graduation then, and then directly to university. A lot of people from abroad ask about Studienkolleg here in Germany as university preparation, but you do not need Studienkolleg if you have an Abitur from Germany. So it's the direct path to university. Mm-hmm. What I'm going to try to do here is give you a little bit of an idea of what it's like on campus here to be a student in student life here at the Schlossschule. And we're going to use the school calendar that is sort of as a basis for doing that. Getting started at the very beginning, students come then, the school year starts in September, and it all starts off with being picked up directly at the airport. We have the drivers go to the airport at the terminal, pick them up directly then, and bring them to the school. Or also parents are welcome to accompany them and come to the school as well to help them move in and get settled. As far as getting into the country, then we do help with visas, both for the initial entry visa if necessary, as well as all visa extensions, and also health insurance. So some of the formal requirements for coming here on a student visa, we are happy to help with those. And then lastly, the very beginning is the new student orientation we have, which is 5 days at the beginning of the school year before the school year starts, to get a feel for how the school works, how the boarding school works, and what life in Germany is like then here. Step one of the whole thing is really moving into the boarding school. You can see here, this is an overview of our campus. We have 3 main dormitory buildings then, for the boys, grades 8 through 12, for the girls, 8 through 12, and lastly for the younger students, grades 5 to 7, here, co-ed. So 3 buildings, and we have about 60 to 40 boys to girls, so there's a little bit more boys here on campus. There are staff living here in the buildings in separate apartments with the students, so there's always somebody available then if students need anything. The standard is living in double rooms, and important is that we always, in the name of integration, then it's never the same nationality, 2 students in 1 room, but always try to separate it, and ideally put students in with a German student. And lastly then, I'll introduce a little bit as we go then the people who are responsible for the students. And here a mentor is what they're called here on campus, that they're responsible as the main person of contact for students to also help with personal development, any problems and any things they may have or need. So give you a quick view of some of the rooms here. Then this is the girls' dormitory, called Rosenhaus. Even someone who doesn't speak German can imagine what that means. Then this is for 8 through 12, double and single rooms, and common areas on the halls then for the students. Here's some different shots then of some of the bedrooms in one of the double rooms that has an upstairs and downstairs sort of loft kind of room. Common areas, kitchen, living room, laundry. The Gartenhaus is for the boys in grades 8 through 12. Same principle as girls. Looks a little bit different, but all works the same. You can see some of the common areas here, double room, living room. And lastly then for the young ones, grades 5 through 7, the Wiesenhaus, where they live here with a family of two mentors with their family. The last slide here is some of the facilities on campus. Fitness room, sauna, outdoor places to sit and relax, climbing wall, some sports fields. There's a student clubhouse on campus where they can do what they like, and there's also parties in there every now and then throughout the school year for certain events. In the beginning, students come in, class starts the middle of September. In the very beginning, there's a hiking day where it's sort of to start building the sense of community and group structure. The whole school goes hiking together here in the area, and then class starts shortly thereafter. Here's a sample of the 10 plus schedule. So you can sort of see what subjects they have, what a day looks like. I would imagine a lot of the subjects are pretty standard then for most students then. Foreign languages, we have English as the primary foreign language. The international students here do not have a second foreign language as the German students do. Rather, they have, in those times, here additional German courses. We have a whole German as a foreign language department here on campus with a full-time German teacher who's responsible for all of those courses. And as you see, they have quite a bit of language support during the week. The reason why they don't need a second foreign language is because at the end of the school year, they take a test in their native language and get academic credit for that language. So they can focus more on German during that time. School day always starts at 7:30 in the morning, goes then until, varying on the day, varying each day then, sometimes shorter until lunch, sometimes later until the evening. In the evening is always study hall, supervised by teachers or other educators. Then in the evening, and then also in between, wherever they have time, then are the clubs and activities they have the ability to take part in. And finally, then bedtime and lights out at 10:30, and then it repeats.
Do you switch up the Wi-Fi too?
Yeah, I figured that would come at some point. Then this is the first student question always, and the answer is yes. Wi-Fi, laptops, iPads, blah blah blah. Then the first parent question after that is always, the answer is yes, it's controlled, and yes, it's limited, and yes, for the younger students, we do take the devices at night, so they actually sleep. But it's important they learn how to deal with it, and not pretend like it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Can I have another question?
Yeah.
Back to the mentor. So you mentioned that there is a mentor for about 10-15 students each,
Mm-hmm.
but the mentor is not responsible for the academics, right?
No.
The mentor is for other things. Do they live in the campus, the mentors?
Yeah, most do. Yeah, not all, but quite a good number. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll get into a spot here later about those responsible for the academic portion. Then it's the same principle from the school as the mentors as well. So,
okay.
Sort of picked highlights from each month here. So, moving along now into October, the second month of school. We have the first well-deserved break after the first 6 or 7 weeks of class. Some significant things that happen. There's a language course for the international students in during the fall break, so they have the opportunity to focus and concentrate on German for 3 days, sort of a short intensive course, as well as fall break, which is 1 week at the end of October. And what's important here that I mentioned at that this time is in general, the weekends and holidays on campus. Students can stay on all weekends and almost all holidays. So in the fall break in October, we're open. Christmas break over December, January, students travel home. Fasching then in February. We're also open Easter in April, Pentecost then in June, and lastly summer then in the month of August. The school is closed, so it's a travel home. And here you can just see some pictures of typical destinations that students go to during the breaks. To Stuttgart, to Metzingen, to the big outlet shopping center, to soccer games or what have you, then to get a feel for what's going on around us. November then is the end of the first quarter, and what's most important here then, there's some nice festivities, like we celebrate Thanksgiving here on campus. You can see some of the food prepared then, but also the important thing is the end of the first quarter, meaning that the first progress reports with grades go out, and as well as reports from the boarding school and from their teachers. And it's important that as far as communication with parents, we send messages then at least quarterly on updates and how everything's going. But also then there's multiple people who are available at all times for email, telephone calls, whatever, if parents ever need questions or have questions or need anything. And there's always somebody available.
I'm sorry, the Thanksgiving dinner is for the students or for the parents too?
For students. For
the students, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. December then is moving towards Christmas season. There's a lot going on campus. St. Nicholas comes and visits then December 6th and brings chocolate to the good kids, and for the bad ones, German tradition, comes with a bundle of sticks. There's all the Christmas markets, and as long as there's no Corona going on, then students here in Kirchberg and in surrounding in every city in Germany. There's a traditional Christmas concert on campus, the formal dinner with all the students, as well as a Christmas party in the student clubhouse. And what I'd like to mention here then is what's important to us. Most of the students are taken care of, and that even means being flexible as much as we need to be sometimes. And now this year with Christmas, then usually we would be closed, but actually staying open because of Corona, and going to make it possible that students can stay here and not have to travel home over the break. So moving on into the new year then, the end of the first semester comes at the end of January. And this is sort of a year question earlier than what's important here is there's big conferences then for every quarter of the school year, and in particular then for the end of the first semester, where each student is discussed individually then in these teams then of mentors, tutors who are responsible for all the academic success, and also then the international team here that's responsible then, it sort of brings in the intercultural aspect to the whole thing. And there's discussed progress, problems, what they might need. So the time and attention to the individual is a key aspect to the student success here. February brings in then new experiences in the new year. The 9th grade has internships for 2 weeks that they take part in. Also then there's always an annual ski trip to the Alps each year then for students to get out and sports and experience something different than. What's important here is the principle of university career advising at the school. As I mentioned before, we recognize that the school is a means to an end for the international students, and we try to tailor that as much as possible and help them reach their goal then of studying well here in Germany and being successful afterwards. So there's a lot of things that go on here, including internships that are required in 9th and 10th grade. And of course, we help with finding internships and helping create contacts where they can do that. We have industry partners that we work with that they could go work at. There's group individual advising throughout all the years here while they're at the school. Testing to help find interests and sort of orientation. The university day where students can visit universities to get a feel for the programs they might be interested in, as well as help with resume and application training to get some experience in that. In March, one of the big things, and also for the international students who come here in the grade 10 plus, is the exchange to Poland. And this is a long partnership we've had with the school in Bielsko-Biała. And to really, the important thing is that internationality is not just bringing students here and helping the Abitur, but it's also for the German students, it's experienced firsthand. It should be witnessed. It should be, witnessed firsthand. And so there's, in each part of this, then So first of all, with Poland, then it's about discovering the history they learn in class. It's also not just the intercultural aspect, but the hands-on about what they've learned in history, for example, or in social studies. But then at every grade level, there's different excursions. 7th grade goes to France, 8th grade is in England, 10th grade Poland, and 11th grade, based on their course selection, they go to different places. Art goes to Vienna, for example. Music goes to Vienna, art goes to Venice. There's a few examples, just have to think of some others. But so it's the principle also then, especially with the languages, French and English, that it's all tangible to what they're doing in class, that it's relevant to what's going on. April is a critical month at the school. Then it's this is when Abitur starts. Then gets going. The written exams then start in April for the 12th graders, and the big question is then how do students reach Abitur then and be successful in Abitur? Coming in only 3 years, learning the language, and getting familiar with the German academic environment, and there's a lot of this. As I said before, the advantage of a private school than a boarding school, this amount of support, including academic support. So there's the academic advisors assigned to all students. There's study hall daily with teacher support available, foundational courses available, tutoring in all subjects. Studientage are days where it's dedicated to a certain subject or aspect of a subject to help with that. And most importantly, as I mentioned before, simply the time for the individual. Taking the time to make plans to help create, to check up on progress and see how things are going. For those who need less support but want more, or above and beyond the curriculum, there's opportunities with the University of Würzburg or Stuttgart for an early study program where students get university experience. They're in university seminars once a week in the 11th grade and get college credit for those courses then as well that they take. And also there's a number of regional and national academic competitions that students have taken part in and been very successful.
When can they start this early study?
11th grade is it.
But during the whole grade?
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. And it's just for 11th grade. Then starting 12th grade, then the focus is obviously Abitur.
Okay.
But 11th grade, they can do that.
Good.
If I see a look at time, we're pretty well over already. Keep going. Are we doing good? Is it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Perfect. In May, there's not a lot going on in May. If you look at the calendar from the school, there's not any special activities. It's a pretty regular school month. So I took that opportunity then to talk a little about free time at the school and sort of the work-life balance, so to speak. That's one of the big focuses of boarding schools then, the holistic approach, not just academics, but also the heart, body, mind, or heart, mind, head. Heart, head, hand, sorry, geez. Now we got it. So there's a number of extracurriculars here on campus available, arts, sports, musical, technical courses, a whole number for students to take part in, which are part of the program, don't cost any extra. Some pictures then of some of the courses. The Equestrian Program, horseback riding, is a very popular program that a lot of students take part in here. Our boarding school director, Melanie Wies, is a European champion horseback rider, and so she's established a good program here on campus for students. And not on campus, it's about 5 minutes from campus here. This is a picture of the stalls where we have our own horses, and students can train weekly. And then some pictures of other activities here on campus, music and sports, technical, you name it. By June, the school year's starting to wrap up. So there's a lot going on. The students are completing final tests and projects. See a lot of students completing extra assignments to try to help pick up their grades before the school year ends. The biggest thing here probably is the Abitur oral exams. So there's a good bit of time between the written exams and the oral, which are now in June. And lastly, then the theater, as I mentioned, is a week. Theater is one of the focuses of the school, where they take a trip with the theater groups and practice, rehearse, learn new things for that. What's great to mention here, then when we're talking about Abitur being finished, some of the results then of how Abitur has gone and what students how they've done in Abitur. So we've had, since 2013, then when the first group came through and finished Abitur, we've had 46 students total take Abitur, international students, sorry. And of those, so far, 0 have failed, amazingly. We're still incredibly happy about that and hope that stays that way. But it's been very, very surprisingly successful, so to speak. And over the last years, then, the numbers of international students here, their grades show that it's getting better. The more experience we have and the more we develop the programs here. So these are the averages here, the international students only, and the German grading system from 1 to 6, 1 being the best, 6 being failing. And by far the best was this year, then in 2020, the average of 1.9, and the top 2 students in the class of 40 students were both international and had an average of 1.1, which in Germany is excellent, even for German students.
Wow.
Now we're getting to a close then. July we have the School Fest and Project Week. Students complete in groups with peers of their class or other classes as well, projects that to particular topics related to the courses they're taking, and then are presented at the School Fest, where there's music, there's the projects, there's alumni on campus. It's a big day-long event. Also the student-teacher annual soccer game, where they always see who can beat who. And the highlight is, of course, the graduation in the beginning of July for the Abitur students. And then end of July, the school year is over and students head into summer break. They're done. To sort of tie the knot then, to complete the loop then from the beginning, what happens after school then? So they finish Abitur here in Kirchberg, and they've gone so far then, in addition to the 4 that I mentioned at the very beginning then, to a number of very top-ranked universities here in Germany for a number of programs, for engineering, medicine, business, languages, art, a number of programs. So it's, if nothing else, the results here can prove that it's a good route, good option for German education.
Great.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I guess the next steps of what, if anybody's interested in, of what to do from here, then obviously contact Eva or the local Group office then, and happy to answer questions anytime. You can also contact me directly then. Anybody's welcome to come visit the campus, have a campus tour and look around for a little bit, and then apply and enroll. And so
you do an interview with the student, right?
Sorry, say again?
You have an interview with the applications.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
Applicants.
So we would receive the application materials then, and then do a short student interviews, about a half hour to an hour, to get a personal impression.
Great.
And then, yeah. So, ta-da! Perfect.
Wow, wonderful. Okay. So maybe later we'll receive some more questions, so I will pass them on to you, okay, if you can help me with them. But I recommend everyone, they can turn to your local offices in each country, so I can share the contacts later on with them. And thank you very much, Adam. I think it was a very informative, very interesting presentation about the school, and I'm sure that whoever is interested in going to Germany for a boarding school, it's a #1 option for this school. So I can really recommend for our inquiries. So thank you again. And
thank you for having me.
Have a nice day.
All right, great. Thanks. You too, Eva. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.